the blueprint. Study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We've talked about Raw from January the 3rd, 2021. And it's finally going down, dog. It's finally going to go down. Royal Rumble, Brock versus Bob. I am so excited. I don't know what to do with myself. You can call me a mark on this one all you want, dog. But I'm telling you, this match is not gonna go 60 minutes. It ain't gonna go 45. It ain't gonna go 30. It ain't gonna go 25. This match will be 10 minutes at the most. At the most. And I am going to be enthralled in every second. I might buy the DVD. That's how excited I am for this. This is gonna be great, you know. And I thought I was gonna be an old man sitting in my rocking chair, you know, and sitting on the porch, telling the kids, like, you know, we could have had Undertaker and Sting. We could have had Lesnar and Lashley, but there was always something in the way. But now we get to scratch this one off the list. I'm all about this idea right here. I'm all about it. But how did we get there? You know, not like I don't care how we got there. If we're being honest, they could have just booked this joint straight out of the blue, and I'd have been okay with it. But we got there through Brock. Of course, so Brock wins the WWE title at day one. He opens Raw with his advocate Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. The boys are back in town. So Brock calls himself the real champion, gives a shout out to Roman Reigns, says that he wants South Carolina to acknowledge him. He actually got booed for that, which is interesting. Acknowledged Paul for advocating for his free agency, which led to him becoming the WWE champion. Paul announced a match, which was the original main event for day one, and that it will now be a number one contenders match. Then he ran down each of the guys by saying Seth Rollins is a dummy for teaming up with Kevin Owens and thinks that Becky Lynch will leave him if he doesn't win the title. Said that Lashley is a worthy challenger, but it's almost as if the two, Lashley and Lesnar, have been avoiding one another, and that Lashley is an almighty Brock Lesnar wannabe. And then he put over Big E in the most explosive way possible, saying that he's a credit to the WWE, a credit to the fans, a credit to everyone. He's an excellent human being. The sun shines out of his ass. He was just putting Big E over in a major way. And he says that Roman Reigns, 1 week without him, has COVID. So he thinks that Roman can't handle this by himself. And I love this opening promo. Heyman, it still feels like Heyman is a smarmy bastard and he's up to no good. Brock is doing his own talking. So it's kind of like they've adopted the Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman format, but for Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman now. I like it. I don't think this is going to last very long. I still do believe that Heyman is going to end up turning on Brock. So I think this is all one long ruse. I believe it. I believe that they playing the long game on this one. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it because it's still going to be, when it happens, it's going to make perfect sense. And it's going to be an out for Brock. Now, this, of course, leaves a lot of credence to the title for title idea that has been pitched around. I think it probably needs to happen at this point. I don't like the merging of the two brands, but they like to have these champion versus champion matches every once in a while. It adds a level of intrigue to Brock versus Roman that that is needed. But especially since now that the day one match kind of got blown up, so Brock didn't have another loss hung on him. Instead, what they've done is they've avoided having Brock lose again, and they've had, of course, avoided Roman losing again. And now they're just going to have the one big match, but that means they have to somehow keep that feud hot for another 4 months. Another 3 months, rather, because I think WrestleMania is on the 3rd. That's going to be difficult for them to do, but it ought to be fairly easy to keep Brock occupied for the next 3 months with all the different challengers for his title. And, you know, I don't think he's going to disappear and not show back up. I do believe he probably won't defend the title again after Royal Rumble until WrestleMania, which is why I'm so excited about the Lashley Lesnar matches, because we get it out the way. That's awesome. So I'm cool with this. I love this. This is a pretty good promo. So throughout the night, of course, we get the guys talking. MVP says that it's a Herculean task to defeat these guys. You know, Big E and Rollins and Owens, and then he just kind of walks off. You know, almost as if he's distraught or he doesn't believe Bob can do it. Then Bob said that Lashley fears him, and he said it in the most stoic way possible. Later, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins were talking about their plan. The plan was for one of them to help the other one win, and then that one will help the winner will wrestle for the title, and then the one who didn't win would help that one win the title, and then they would wrestle each other at WrestleMania. That was the plan. Of course, that did not work. It made no sense. But I loved Big E's promo out of all of this thing, because he talked about how being champion meant a lot to him, and being champion meant a lot to other people too. But it says around there, they don't stay down, they don't wallow in defeat. They make sure that their next chapter is their best chapter, and there's not a soul on earth that can stop him from winning this fatal 4-way tonight. And this is the correct promo coming after a loss. You know, it's just as important to handle losing well as it is to win. You know, WWE's problem for the last couple of years actually has been that a lot of the baby faces, when they lose, with the exception of John Cena and, you know, the top level guys like Roman Reigns and stuff like that, they don't really handle losing very well. They get kind of whiny, you know, and they tend to never go away. And this becomes a problem, like later on in this show with Liv Morgan, where they just keep coming back. It's like, well, you lost. Maybe we should move on. And then, you know, maybe saying like, hey, I'm going to dust myself off, go out there and win this match tonight, you know, and then I'll be right back, which is kind of what Big E said. Instead of just coming across as being a little bit like entitled to a, you know, rematch or, you know, whatever. So I love the Big E promo. The Fatal 4-Way, though, it was actually better than it had any right to be. And they did so much stuff in this match that I'm actually shocked. I mean, these four guys had back-to-back bangers, because they had a great match on Saturday. They had an awesome match on Saturday. And then this Monday, they went out there and did it again. And this match had really good psychology to it as well. You had Rollins and Owens actually working together, you know, even to the point where they were not breaking up each other's pinfalls. You know, Kevin Owens was actually celebrating as he thought Seth Rollins was going to win at one point. You know, they were helping each other do moves, even though they kind of botched the initial pop-up powerbomb. I thought they did a good job of covering for that. You know, Big E was, you know, he didn't jump in time or something like that. And he just started throwing punches, and then Rollins attacked him from behind. You know, boom, 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 boom. Then he shoved him, and they did it again. So I thought that was a nice little cover for the blown spot. But the backstage stuff, it's been forever since I've seen WWE do something backstage. I know that AEW used to do it all the time, but then they kind of calmed down on that. So it was nice. It was a nice change of pace to see guys go backstage into the concession area. Rollins got put through the merch table. Kevin Owens jumped off the balcony, which has been a forever since I've seen something like that. Lashley, of course, tried to spear somebody through the barricade, ended up missing, putting himself through the barricade. I think Big E got put through a table with a power bomb. There's a lot of great spots in this match. And Lashley ends up winning via spearing Kevin Owens and pinning him. Really good spots, you know, great match. South Carolina got better than South Carolina deserves. And that was excellent. It's always good when you're in the audience and you get something that you don't expect, even from a show that was pretty mundane as this one. This main event probably made up for it, you know, because some people got to see the crowd, got to see the wrestlers up close, and they got to see stuff they don't usually see on Monday Night Raw, which is guys jumping off of barricades and guys, you know, fighting backstage and stuff like that. Usually that stuff is reserved for pay-per-views. But them throwing it out there, they basically did whatever match they had planned for day one. It seemed like they did it here, with the exception of probably a different winner. So Brock is asked about Lashley after the match, and he looked impressed as he was watching TV. And he was watching TV normally, like a normal person. But he ignored that Lashley had won the match or had said anything about him earlier. Instead, saying that he's going to see Roman on SmackDown. So we got Brock putting on his working boots. He's actually trying to help WWE out here. He's going to be on SmackDown. Now, there's no guarantee Roman's going to be there, but Brock will be there. So that's ought to be nice. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Roman definitely is not contractually obligated to wrestle Brock Lesnar. So I'm very, very interested in what they do from the Roman side as far as opponents for him, because he has kind of blown through the entire roster. And Brock was sort of the only guy left to challenge him. So now the question remains, who is Roman going to wrestle at the Royal Rumble? I thought before Lesnar won the title that it would still be Lesnar. It would just be, they would push it back 4 weeks. But now it seems like Lesnar is doing the Lashley thing. So who is Roman going to fight? Who is possibly, I'm guessing it had to be Drew McIntyre, wouldn't it? But no, it wouldn't be Drew McIntyre because he would be doing the injured neck thing, right? So who could it possibly be? Would they have to heat up somebody? Or they would have to, microwave whoever it is. We're talking battle royal time here. It would have to be like, I don't know. But it could be Shinsuke Nakamura if he drops the Intercontinental title. But he has to somehow get his momentum up in 4 weeks. I don't know. Maybe they have Nakamura beat Sami Zayn, and they have Nakamura go into that match, champion versus champion, Nakamura versus Roman, and then they could use that to build up the idea of champion versus champion at WrestleMania. That's a good start. I've heard there's no Elimination Chamber this year, but I think there is a Saudi show. I'm not sure how that works. I didn't look at the calendar. I haven't seen the calendar in forever, but the mix-up of the calendar was probably a bad idea. So I'm really intrigued by all of this. All of these questions, none of it seems run-of-the-mill. All of it seems like it's up in the air. Some of it seems very fresh, which is a good thing. Very good. I like all of this. I'm really excited to see who Roman is going to be wrestling, because there's opportunities there. Sure, some people can say, well, we're just looking over Lashley and Lesnar and just thinking that Lashley's going to lose. But I think that it's okay for him to lose. It's not that big of a deal. It's Brock. I just kind of wanted him to get the opportunity to really showcase and be showcased in that way. And Royal Rumble is a good place for it. They did AJ Styles versus John Cena at the Royal Rumble. This is a great place for a title match. They've done Bret Hart versus Undertaker at the Royal Rumble before. So they've done great main events at Royal Rumble. This is excellent. Will it be overshadowed by the Royal Rumble match? I don't think so. Speaking of which, I think it is set in stone now that Big E wins the Royal Rumble. Now, what that means for WrestleMania is that WrestleMania is 2 nights. And I think that they're probably going to steal the Wrestle Kingdom idea. And they're likely to have either Roman and Lesnar each defending on night 1. And then the winner wrestles each other on night 2. Or they will have Lesnar, Roman on night 1. And they will have to wrestle the Royal Rumble winner on night 2. That's what it seems like to me. I definitely think Big E is walking out of WrestleMania with a title. Whether it's both titles or whether it's one title, I don't know. But either or, I think Big E walks out of WrestleMania the unified world champion. If there's going to be a unified title. And if it's not, it's just going to be Big E versus Roman. I definitely think Big E is going to win that match. If it's Big E versus Lesnar, I think Big E wins that match. I think that, putting over Big E the way that they did, even after he lost, I think that he's the guy going forward. And I thought it might have been Drew McIntyre. And I still think that, maybe we're kind of waiting to see what happens with that. But I think it's kind of set in stone now that Big E is going to end up winning the Rumble. And I'm not so sure that he shouldn't. I thought he should have won the Rumble before he won Money in the Bank. To me, this was the most appropriate way for a guy like Big E to get a title shot. Now, if Big E doesn't win the Rumble and it is instead somebody like Drew McIntyre, he's going to get booed out of the building. And that's just kind of how it is. That's why I think Big E needs to win. Because unless it's a big surprise kind of guy, it can't even be Edge this time because they've already blown that load. So it has to be somebody who either the fans really, really like more than Big E, which I don't see anybody on that roster right now, who's a babyface that is bigger than Big E, and on the male side, who could, conceivably win the Royal Rumble. And I certainly don't see him going to WrestleMania to lose. I think that he has to be made whole out of this whole situation. Even though he kind of lost fair and square, everybody kind of has the feeling that Big E got screwed over. And he has been screwed over because of the way they booked his entitled title run. I just wish he wasn't the champion already. That was the only thing that I can say about this whole thing. And I'm, of course, assuming that he wins the Royal Rumble and assuming he's going to win the title at WrestleMania. And to me, that's how I would do it. That's all I can do is how I would do it. All right, so we finally move on to something else. Riddle is still being silly. RK Bro loses to the Alpha Academy because Otis counters Riddle's RKO into the World's Strongest Slam. Gable actually kissed Otis on the cheek earlier. He's so excited to be hanging out with Otis. He told the people stop booing education because it was gross, which I thought was funny. The Riddle promo, there was a false start. With how much? That's a 10-yard penalty. Because they started the promo with Riddle stepping into the screen, and then they went to commercial, and then it came back, and Riddle stepped into the screen again. These production flubs are hilarious. But Riddle was, of course, pretending to be a rapper. He was wearing shades. He was wearing gold chains, talking about starting a rap group. And it was fun hanging out with Migos. Now he got all these Hollywood connections. It was Riddle once again being distracted and being silly, and Randy trying to focus him up. The Alpha Academy needed to, they needed this win, but of course, with beating the tag team champions, it makes no sense. So that just means that RK Bro is going to kill them for 4 weeks in a row now. Alpha Academy could probably use being the tag team champions, if we're being honest. That's just me. They could probably use it. 24/7 championship mixed tag match. Akira Tozawa and Tamina versus Dana Brooke and Reggie. I don't even know what this even meant. Akira Tozawa ended up kicking Tamina in the face, which is like the first time a man has hit a woman in a long time. She hit him back, and then Reggie did like his flipping whoopee cushion thing and won the match. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm just glad it was short and these people are out of the way. That's a good thing. WWE keeps their garbage short for the most part. So Becky Lynch comes out there, and Becky Lynch is talking about being the Raw Women's Champion, and that nobody in the back can beat her. But she hasn't had time to reflect on her New Year resolutions, and now she says that she's a work of art, and because she makes people feel, and that's what good art does. And that Liv Morgan broke her promise to her fans and broke her promise to herself, and she's a loser and all that stuff. So then Liv Morgan appears, and Liv Morgan has new theme music, and it's awful. And I just want to scream every time they change theme songs for no reason. And they keep changing them to worse versions of these songs. This Liv Morgan theme song is worse than her theme was. Why do they keep doing that? Every week they change somebody's theme song to something generic and stupid. There was nothing wrong with Liv Morgan's theme song. Like, we're not allowed to have iconic theme songs anymore. What made a theme song iconic is even if it wasn't the best, it was consistent. So you consistently knew who was coming out. You're fucking with their pop too, because now you're changing the theme song. People don't have any idea who's coming out there. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, Liv Morgan showed up, said that she was harder on herself than anyone else, but she got close to winning. Bianca Belair came out there, and I was like, okay, finally, we're moving on from this Liv thing. She talked about how she graciously stepped aside to let others catch up, but now she's back in line after her Dewdrop detour. Becky Lynch told them to start a support group for people she's already beaten. Liv Morgan dismissed Bianca Belair, but Bianca Belair told Liv Morgan that she has to settle this score with Becky. Then they ended up fighting. They ended up both beating up Becky Lynch, and then they started fighting each other, and Becky Lynch attacked them from behind and ended up dropping Bianca Belair. And I thought triple threat match. I was ready to. I was hot about this triple threat idea. For starters, I did not like the idea of Bianca being coming out there at that point in time. I wasn't thrilled about Liv being there either. I definitely wanted somebody different to come out there. To be quite honest, and I'm going to go ahead and say this now, I wanted Alexa Bliss to show up. If for nothing else, it would be somebody different. That's really all I wanted, because Becky spent so much time wrestling Bianca, and then spent so much time wrestling Liv. So I really was just kind of like, I don't know who she could wrestle, and it would matter. And I was just saying maybe it would be Alexa Bliss. And we found out that Alexa Bliss would be filming her quote unquote journey back to Raw, whatever that means. And so she's going to be coming back soon. Okay, cool. But what are we going to do with this shit here? Because I really have no interest in watching Becky beat up Bianca and Liv again. And so they decided to add Dewdrop. So Dewdrop comes out there later, and she's barking at Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. I demand, in that thick accent, demanding that somebody else gets a chance, because it's the same people over and over again. And this probably should have turned her babyface, if we're being honest, because this was a really good promo about the same people getting shots over and over again, and that the people demand want something different. She demands a title match. She wants a shot right now. Of course, she's a heel, so her demanding a title shot when she hadn't earned it makes perfect sense. Liv Morgan, who is not a heel, demanding a title shot when she hadn't earned it makes no sense. Bianca Belair had earned it, but at that point had wrestled Becky Lynch 100 times already. So people were kind of like, I don't know. So they set up a triple threat match. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville did. Dewdrop versus Liv Morgan versus Bianca Belair. We're still going to get the triple threat match, just not the same players. The winner will face Becky Lynch at Royal Rumble. To me, Dewdrop needs to win this match. And there that goes. All right, put Bianca in the Rumble. Dewdrop needs to win this match. I'm pretty sure Bianca is going to win, but Dewdrop should win this match. And the reason Dewdrop should win is because it's a fresh match. And if you put the right amount of steam behind Dewdrop, even though she lost to Bianca, if you put the right amount of steam behind Dewdrop, she can be a believable opponent for Becky Lynch. And it could be a believable match. And she could believably win with the right amount of steam. And if we're talking about, yes, she's a heel and Becky's a heel, but it's easier for Becky to get the crowd behind her and work babyface against somebody like Dewdrop, who they still don't know, and is still kind of a bitch, so it works. And plus the Royal Rumble match itself is probably going to be more important than this anyway. So I would go with Dewdrop and have Dewdrop versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Not WrestleMania, but at the Royal Rumble. And then put Bianca and Liv in the Rumble. What they will more likely do is have Bianca go over, and it's Bianca and Becky at Rumble. That's fine. Just the question of, I have no idea. If Becky is going to wrestle Bianca at the Royal Rumble, then who she's wrestling at WrestleMania? That's my question. People have pitched the idea of Alexa Bliss, and I don't think Alexa Bliss is a WrestleMania tier opponent for Becky Lynch. Some B-level pay-per-view, sure, but WrestleMania, I don't see it. I saw somebody say Ronda Rousey's going to be back. I'm like, Ronda Rousey still has a young baby. I'm not sure she's going to be back in time. I even saw some lunatic say Lacey Evans. I'm like, is Lacey Evans going to be back yet? I don't know. There's a lot of people who are out I also saw somebody say that there's not enough women to do a Royal Rumble because of all of the releases. I'm like, man, you have no idea how deep that bench is. There's a lot of women on that roster who aren't showing up, and then there are also going to be legends that are going to be brought in. I still think that it was kind of ridiculous to release so many people, but at the same time, what's done is done, and everybody's going to be okay. And there's probably going to be some returns. I'm almost certain Bailey is going to be back by the Royal Rumble. She's been gone, I think, long enough at this point. There's some talk of Bailey winning the Royal Rumble. I don't know about that one, dog. I wouldn't put Bailey over in the Royal Rumble. She's going to be a huge babyface when she comes back. Give somebody some heat by throwing her out. That's my thing. Get the heat. Throw her out. Sasha Banks apparently is not hurt and was perfectly fine. Has been wrestling Charlotte at the house shows. I thought she might have been hurt. If she's going to be healthy, Sasha probably wins the Rumble. They probably go Sasha and Bailey as the last two. At that point, we're still asking the question, who is Charlotte going to wrestle at Royal Rumble? That's something. That's a good question. Because if Tony quit and she was the one that was in that spot, who do you replace her with? We're talking about we're talking about Battle Royal situation here. Somebody's going to have to win the lottery. It's probably going to be like Xia Li or Aaliyah or something. And it's not going to seem like the right level of opponent because it's not going to be enough time to build that person up from obscurity to championship match. So they may go safe and do Sasha and Charlotte at the Royal Rumble and then say we got 3 months to build up the next opponent for WrestleMania. But then they could also have Sasha and Charlotte at Royal Rumble and Sasha wins the belt and Bailey wins the Rumble. And then Sasha and Bailey at WrestleMania. Which is what I think a lot of the fans of those people want. Because then you have to ask the question, well, who is Charlotte going to wrestle? And then we've seen that, okay, now this kind of bleeds over into the mid segment. But Beth Phoenix is wrestling again. So she's going to wrestle a match. It's a mixed tag match, but she's willing to put her boots on again. Can we get her to put her boots on again for WrestleMania and have, I know Becky Lynch has challenged her. I think Charlotte would probably be down for that, even though I think Charlotte got the Trish match, so she probably shouldn't get another one. I know that Sasha Banks has been angling to get Trish Stratus back in the ring, even though Trish says she's done. Medusa wants a match, aka Alundra Blaze. Forget it. She works at NWA now too, so I don't. And plus, she's like 80. No way. I don't even see the point in that. But I think if Beth Phoenix can wrestle, Beth Phoenix versus Becky is fun. Beth Phoenix versus Charlotte is fun. And I think if you're take the belt off Charlotte, you got to give her something of equal measure. And giving her somebody who is retired, but giving her a Legends match, it works. Because she's been able to pull that off before. She can do it again. And I think so many people are interested in the Sasha and Bailey. They just got to have their WrestleMania match. And I don't know I guess, it's big for Bailey as long as she wins, but it's big for Bailey to get a big WrestleMania moment because she hasn't had one yet. Even though I think she did win. Did she win the title at WrestleMania or she lost it or one or the other? I don't remember. But I'm way off track. I'm supposed to be talking about the Raw Women's title, but I'm trying to be a fortune teller and looking forward. I think that simply Doudrop versus Becky Lynch at Royal Rumble works. Doudrop is no threat to win the actual Royal Rumble match. So giving her a spotlight where she gets to wrestle Becky is great, and you could put Bianca in the Rumble. You could put Liv in the Rumble. I like all of that stuff. And I think that works out better, but they're more likely going to put Bianca versus Becky. And Liv and Doudrop are going into the Royal Rumble. And maybe even Liv and Doudrop will start feuding after this. And to be quite honest, that ought to work. Because Liv needs somebody she can reasonably beat. And Doudrop needs an opponent that she can reasonably beat. And they both need work doing promos. And they can help each other. That would be good. At least for a little while. But this segment, the Becky Lynch segment, is perfectly fine. The only thing is she's kind of started trailing off like I do. And she trailed off a lot. And she lost her train of thought, I think, at some point. Especially she started talking about herself as a work of art. It's a work of art. It was not a work of art. It was Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley versus Carmella and Zelina Vega for the 45th time. And it worked out exactly the way it always works out. Nikki tags herself in, got rolled up and pinned by Zelina Vega. Rhea Ripley was shocked, appalled, disgusted, dismayed, and everything else that Nikki got beat. Nikki was apologizing, was kind of whiny in her apologies. I'm so sorry, so sorry. And then we see the massive size of Rhea Ripley's arms and back and shoulders. And I was saying to myself, now would be a perfect time to just knock her fucking block off right now. Just beat the tar out of Nikki right now. It didn't happen. And I'm like, what are they waiting for? It's Royal Rumble season. Rhea Ripley needs some momentum because she's been doing nothing but losing, hanging out with fucking Nikki Cross for 4 fucking months. Enough. It's time for her to turn. Okay? It needs to happen. Now, maybe they're going to do a couple of weeks of Nikki begging and Rhea basically... Maybe that ought to be a better way to do it. Where Rhea just formally says in the middle of the ring, look, this tag team thing ain't working. I'm going to go my way. It's Royal Rumble season anyway. I'm going to enter the Royal Rumble. You enter the Royal Rumble. And then afterwards, we'll probably reassess the tag team, but I'm not feeling it right now. And then Nikki's like, oh, but I want to be your tag team partner. I want to be your tag team partner. And then Rhea's like, nah, I'm not interested. And then instead of having her just obliterate Nikki, just have her break Nikki's heart by Nikki being, wanting to be partners and Rhea not wanting to be partners anymore. And I think that would probably be, and I've been saying this for a while. I've been saying this for I don't know, 6 weeks, that Nikki needs to abandon the superhero thing, and something needs to happen where she abandons the superhero thing. Either she needs to get beat up by Rhea Ripley and abandons it, or she needs to be so disappointed in herself and so beat down on herself that she gives up on her own. And I think that's the second one is for the best. If she basically just decides to give up being a superhero and just goes Nikki Ash no more, with the suit in the garbage and her rolling away her little bag or whatever down the hall and saying that she's not going to be Nikki Ash anymore. And then maybe begging the people to bring it back, and I think this would be perfect. If I was writing this thing, this is how I would do it. I would have Nikki quit being Nikki Ash, and she would go back to being Nikki Cross, but not Twisted Sister Nikki Cross. She would go back to being what she was when she was with Alexa Bliss. Just kind of normal, idiot Nikki. And then I would have her be mentored by the Hurricane and Mighty Molly. Now, they're not doing anything. As far as I know, they both still work there. And if you would bring them in and they would give her mentorship, where you have a couple of weeks of Nikki Cross being taught how to be a superhero by the Hurricane and Mighty Molly. And then she kind of rebuilds her confidence, and then she feels like she can put the suit back on. That's just something I would do because I think it would be fun, and it would be something to teach kids about never giving up and believing in yourself. And because in order to teach a kid to believe in themselves, you have to show some doubt first, but then you have to say, okay, I'm fighting back from that. And I think that would be a great little story for kids that you can teach, that even though when you're down and you're losing a lot and if things doesn't look very good, your friends will be there to help you. And then if you could bring Rhea Ripley back into it and, at the end, like after, Hurricane and Mighty Molly have built her confidence back up, Rhea comes back and says, all right, I see how hard you're working to be a superhero. I'm willing to be your partner again. But, then we have, they roll on with this thing. And I think that's a good way to tell this story. But there's also a good way of telling this story where Rhea Ripley just crashes Nikki's shit and just stomps her in the face. And we just get done with all of this stuff. And Rhea goes on to do something more important. I'm just pitching ideas at this point, which is, better than what I see on Raw sometimes, like this Johnny Knoxville in the Royal Rumble shit. Like I completely ignored this the first time because it was like All right, I see that. That's bait to get people really upset. I'm going to ignore it. Whatever. And then I see it again. I'm like, wait a minute. Are they serious about this? Are they seriously going to put Johnny Knoxville, a guy who hasn't been relevant in 20 years, in the Royal Rumble match? How much money did they get from whoever filmed this jackass movie to do this? Because this is ridiculous. Now, it's only one spot that's being wasted, but it is a spot that's being wasted. You know, it is what it is. You know, he's not going to be in there very long. It's more than likely going to be a thing where he walks down the aisle, slaps hands. The moment he's going to take a clothesline, maybe take a splash or something because he's a silly goof, and then get thrown over the top rope. You know, it'll be nice to see you, Johnny Knoxville. And everybody who's going to be mad about it, it'll be all of 30 seconds, and we can move on to things that are more important. But this is absolute bait to get people upset. I don't even know if Johnny Knoxville has a fan under the age of 38. I don't see it. You know, in order to really know who Johnny Knoxville is, you would have to be almost in your 40s, because Jackass was a big thing in 99 to 2000. And you would have to been a teenager to really get it. So if you were a teenager in 1999, you would have been maybe born in 1980, which means you're 42 today. Nah, man, ain't no way, dog. You know, get the hell out of here with this shit. Nobody likes Johnny Knoxville. All right, so the Street Profits and the Mysterios both are going to be in the Royal Rumble. I'm okay with that. Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz were defeated by the Street Profits in a random match. Random match generator right here. This was short. Apollo Crews took the pin. I don't understand why they doing this. What is up with Apollo Crews, man? Why they don't like this guy all of a sudden? Why they don't like him? What did he do wrong? Whose girlfriend did he hit on? I don't understand. He's a good guy, you know. The accent is silly, but he's a good athletic dude. I thought he did really well as the Intercontinental Champion. He did awesome in the run up to the WrestleMania match. You know, the matches he had with Big E. Those were tremendous angles and stuff. Don't understand why he's in this position right now, especially when they need people, you know, in order especially for Damian Priest, who apparently is still going to be going forward as the United States champion. He now has no opponents. Well, he already beat Apollo Crews once, and that was kind of it, which is, you know, that's fine, you know, but there's nobody else, you know, so weird positioning, weird idea. Cruz and Aziz could have been an effective tag team, but you know, they're basically Jinder Mahal and Shanky right now, and that's a shame. Damian Priest cut a promo once again talking about his two-sidedness, his Gemini, his merciful and his rageful side. Saying he's going to beat Dolph Ziggler one way or the other. It's just all about whether it's going to be with mercy or with rage. Dolph Ziggler versus Damian Priest was a very good match. Too bad nobody cares. This is the third straight week of Dolph Ziggler versus Damian Priest. Dolph Ziggler never, ever, ever wins. Never, ever, ever wins. They did mention that Damian Priest's only losses have been by the count-out and disqualification. So this match was a special count-out. Disqualifications will allow for a title switch. So if Damian Priest is counted out or disqualified, the title will go to Dolph. That, of course, sets up the psychology of the match, which got the match over, as Dolph not only does cool moves, but knows how to do the psychology of trying to get Damian Priest pissed off, to hit him with a chair or to do stuff to him to get counted out. And it was excellent. This was very well done. For starters, I like some of the Dolph's new wrinkles that he's added to his moveset. He did his leaping DDT, which I've always been a fan of. I love that DDT. He did it outside the ring off the barricade. So he kind of did the lift, turn, tornado off the barricade. It was great. He tried to win by count out, which is nice. You know, it was pretty cool. I like that he did the running knee. It wasn't the same as Bryan Danielson's running knee. It looked a little bit more vicious, but it was still pretty nice that he did that. He was kept trying to goad Damian Priest into slapping him across the head, pushing him, yelling at him and everything. Robert Roode's perfectly timed interference was a great near fall. Rude being outside the ring, getting in the way, and Damian Priest losing his temper on Robert Roode, almost hitting him with a chair. Now, it wasn't really that he was going to get disqualified for hitting Robert Roode with a chair. It's that if he took the time to hit Robert Roode with that chair, he'd have got counted out. So he had to drop the chair. So they did some really good stuff here. Between the two of them, they had a hell of a match. Damian Priest wins with the Reckoning after he snapped. So they're showing us that he at first couldn't control his anger, he couldn't control his rage, and he was getting counted out and disqualified a lot. Now he has learned to tame the beast within, and he still was able to win. And that's a good story. That's a good enough story. Can't go back to it though, because now that you've shown us that he knows how to control it, then we know what he's doing. And if he gets disqualified and counted out or whatever from this point forward, then we know that he's just, he didn't give a shit about this match. He's just being a dickhead. So that's just something that you learn working with people with behavioral issues. They have triggers, but then you realize at first sometimes you think that they're so impulsive that they can't learn, that they can't control their behavior. And then you find out they're just being manipulative, that they can control it, but they're leading you to believe that they can't. Which is, now that we know that Damian Priest can control it when he wants to, there's no excuse for him to get disqualified or counted out again. We agree on that, right? Probably not. WWE is they're not gonna keep up with that. They're not gonna do that. So Vince McMahon actually was audible this week. We actually get to hear him. He's hanging out with Austin Theory again. Austin Theory apologized for interrupting Vince because he was on the phone. Vince says he never apologizes because apologies are shows of weakness. Then he says that Austin Theory came back and said that he was ready for his match with Finn Balor. Vince said that he lost to Finn Balor, but he made up for it by beating the hell out of him. And if you can't beat him one way, you have to find another way. And then he says that he had a surprise for Austin Theory. And his surprise is that he's going to put Austin Theory in the Royal Rumble. And Theory was like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm thinking like, isn't everybody just walking around saying that I'm in the Royal Rumble? Like, I'm in there. And everybody's like, I'm in there. Me too, man. Like, if Dominic is in there, then certainly Austin Theory's in there, right? I'm interested in where this goes, because I would have thought by now we would have gotten some kind of resolution or some kind of idea of where this Austin Theory Vince McMahon thing is going. Clearly, Austin Theory is not going to win the Royal Rumble. So, I'm trying to figure out where we're going here. They've been doing this whole expecting the unexpected, him passing his knowledge on to Austin Theory. And there's some interesting Vince things that we're learning. That he doesn't apologize. For instance, that he still has some pepper in them hands after he smacked that kid a couple of weeks ago. But I don't see where this is going. And we need a little bit more direction here. I'm not thrilled about this. Speaking of direction, The Miz and Maryse, they're back to complain that Edge needed Beth Phoenix in order to win, and that he has surpassed Edge, but people were still making him prove himself, and that Edge had a little look of defeat in his eyes until Beth Phoenix came out and saved him, and that Edge deserves no respect. He deserved to lose that match. He deserves no respect for winning the match. Beth Phoenix and Edge came out there, called Miz a hypocrite, and said that he fears Beth Phoenix. He pooped his pants when he saw Beth Phoenix, which I think we all did, because she came out there with that wild hair and she had it again on Raw. I think it's a great look. And sometimes you do stuff like that, if for nothing else, but they're going to make an action figure of Beth Phoenix with that hair, and they're going to start doing like Rob Schamberger paintings with that hair. And that's money. That's money in the bank. That's why you can't change your look that often. Believe, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. When people get to saying like, oh, why can't wrestlers change their look? It's like, I think Bruce Pritchard talked about this, about the branding idea. And this is why, maybe changing NXT's logo and the color scheme and everything wasn't a good idea. Is that when you have a brand that's recognizable, people want it to be the same way every time. This is why Sting can't really change who he is, and he's been doing it for 25 years or whatever. He can try to go back to being any other kind of Sting, but it's not going to work. Because the brand is very strong with the black and the white paint, and that's just kind of how it is now. So when you have Beth Phoenix is a perfect blank slate right now, though, because the look she had from 10 years ago is kind of passe. She had a little tiara, the gold hair and everything. That was cool for the time, but, she needed an upgrade. And new action figures can be made, new t-shirts and new everything can be done with Beth Phoenix changing her look now. But you can't, AEW tries to do this all the time, though, where they try to have, new haircuts and everything all the time. And then the action figures look nothing like the fucking guy, because the fucking guy changed his haircut 100 times. Fucking Young Buck keep growing a beard and keep shaving it. That kind of stuff. It does affect, the branding. And I'm pretty sure, action figure deals require your characters to look like the people on TV, So, they're doing this really cool thing with Beth Phoenix's hair. I know I spent probably 3 minutes discussing branding again, which, sorry, might have been a little bit boring. Anyway, Edge wants to give everybody what they want, which is the mixed tag match at the Royal Rumble. Miz accepted on Maurice's behalf, and Maurice is not happy about that. She did not sign up to wrestle no matches. But they still are going to have the match anyway. I liked it. I think we all kind of wanted this match. I wonder if Maurice going to be allowed to have a warm-up match, because I feel like she needs it. I feel like both her and Beth Phoenix need it. Somebody told me that they had an extensive feud for the Divas title a long time ago. I don't remember, man. I remember Maurice as a wrestler. I remember Beth Phoenix as a wrestler. I don't remember them being in the same match, though. But, it ought to be fun. Maurice, I think they should have separate warm-up matches just to, get some ring rust off of them. You don't want to take any heat away from Maurice, so you certainly don't want to have her wrestle Beth Phoenix and lose. But if you put her in there with some J Brown, maybe some NXT J Brown, who she can work over, that'll be pretty good. And Beth Phoenix, probably, her being the NXT commentary, it's probably not the best idea to have her beating up on the girls from NXT. So that's got to be somebody from a lower level on Raw who's not doing anything, who can go in there and take an L to Beth Phoenix, just to show that they still got it and that they are physical threats, and it ought to be fun. But something tells me they're probably going to keep them out of the ring until the very night of the match, and then they're going to do very little. But I would think that you would actually put some spotlight on them. And because we've already seen the guys wrestle one-on-one. I'm not saying that Beth should wrestle Maurice one-on-one on TV, which I'm pretty sure they're going to do. Especially if they think it could pop a rating. They're more than likely going to try to get over with it. I think they need to have warm-up matches, though. And a singles match where Maurice versus Beth Phoenix ought to be fine. But I would think that they should work with other people first. That's how we used to do things. Two people are going to wrestle each other. Instead of wrestling each other 100 times, they would wrestle other people, and you watch from the apron. You watch from the commentary seat or something like that. And that ought to be more interesting. I definitely think Maurice needs to have a warm-up match, because I don't think she's had an actual match of any kind since, I don't know. It's been over a year. I'm pretty sure Beth Phoenix at least was in the Royal Rumble. I don't think Maurice was even in the Royal Rumble. At least I don't remember her being in it. So Maurice definitely needs get some ring rust off of her. So last and certainly least, AJ Styles loses to Amos in the most embarrassing way possible. Look, this match was all of 3 minutes. None of AJ Styles' offense worked. Amos just did whatever he wanted. He basically walked through all the punches. Look, we're putting over Amos as this giant. Okay. I don't dislike Amos. I don't hate him. He certainly needs somebody with him, though. He was more fun with AJ than he is against AJ. AJ made him look really good. This is something Grayson Waller to talk about. Grayson Waller is definitely going to bring this up on NXT. Oi! Didn't you just get smashed, man? Didn't you just get your head thrown through the mat, mate? That ought to be fun. But other than that, this wasn't fun. It's not fun watching AJ Styles get beat up like this. You know, him losing, no big deal. But him getting crushed with almost, he had offense, but it wasn't effective offense. Now the size difference, of course, makes it okay. I'm almost certain Shawn Michaels lost similarly to the Great Khali. I've seen Shawn get choked bombed by the Great Khali a bunch of times. It's an attempt to make a giant look good. Doesn't really work though. I'm not sure if it works ever, but they continue to do it. I think that we were so much better off if Amos just got disqualified because he hurt AJ and threw him against the ring post and put him through a table and tossed him into the crowd and everything and just roared and walked away. Probably would have got more heat for doing that than he would have if he for actually pinning AJ. And I just did a video about this. If he'd made it seem like he had a personal beef with AJ and just tried to go out there and maim him and didn't go for a pinfall, I think that it probably would have been a lot more effective. Now, AJ, of course, we're still hoping out that AJ is going to get a big match at WrestleMania. The stench of this loss can go away pretty fast. AJ Styles is a guy where, he's rubber band. You can beat him, he'll come right back. I really want that AJ versus Edge match. I want that in the worst way. And I think everybody does. I'm okay with, Edge doing something with The Miz until, and we can build AJ and Edge in the Rumble match itself. Maybe they're the, 2 of the last 4 or something like that. But since that match was teased, I want that match. All right. I need that. I want that very badly. Thank you very much. Raw was, it was what it was, man. Tons of rematches, but the angles at least were solid enough. Some of the character work was really good. I'm excited for Brock versus Bob. Couldn't care less about the rest of this shit. Brock versus Bob is carrying me through the week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.